Welcome to the Lead Every Day show. Our mission is to see a world well led. And our strategy to get there? To empower leaders like you to lead every day. So let's get to work.
Welcome to the Lead Every Day show. I'm Randy Gravitt.
And I'm Mark Miller.
And Mark, we got a holiday weekend coming up, buddy. Memorial Day on Monday. So much to be grateful for when we think about that. A lot of people have given a lot for us to be able to have what we have, and truly I'm grateful for that. Even grateful at home for what we have as well, what we've been given. Obviously different than some of that, but a lot to be thankful for here, and I'm excited about hanging out with you today for the show. So Hope you're doing good.
Doing fantastic. Going to get to spend time with the grandkids this weekend. So
That'll be good.
It's going to be fun.
That'll be probably some intense time. They'll be having. You got ball games or anything going on, or?
I don't think there are any ball games.
Okay.
But there'll be a lot of
maybe hanging out and
craziness.
Yeah.
Some water balloon fights
maybe
and other.
Put them in the pool or something
things.
this weekend.
It'll
That's
be
good. All right. So this week we've had a little bit of a different conversation than what we normally do, and we're going to do that next couple of weeks as well. Getting ready to launch Winning Begins at Home here on June the 11th, and I hope this conversation is really helping people think about accelerating their success. I mean, that's one of the things we talk about. We want them to become better leaders and improve team performance and strengthen organizations. But ultimately, there's more to life than just work. And so we've been having a good conversation this week. Talked about the blueprint, and I gave a couple of prerequisites, sort of clearing the land. Today, I want to jump into some of these fundamentals, and we think fundamentals are really important in business and leadership, all that stuff. So we're gonna talk about them today here as well, going into the weekend. We'll spend a couple of days on this next week as well, but fired up here to think about the fundamentals of building a great home.
Yeah. We talked about fundamentals in Uncommon Leadership, and we stressed the importance of the fundamentals.
Yeah.
That's why they're fundamental. Blocking and tackling in sports as the most prevalent example. If you don't do those things well, you can't play the game well.
They really position you to win, don't they? I mean,
That's right.
I think you mentioned in there about the scales in music, and I mean, they're just so many areas of our life. We look at them and we go, well, that's sort of a given, and they become almost, I mean, musicians work on the scales all the time, but they're just like breathing. I mean, they know what they're doing when it comes to that, and the same thing's true, like you said, with blocking and tackling. But I don't think at home we think about it.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Even the uninitiated would probably know that blocking and tackling are important in football.
Right.
If you know nothing, you probably intuit that.
That's right.
When you think about outside of work,
Yeah.
specifically when you think about home, I'm not sure people have ever thought about the fundamentals.
it's one of the reasons I wanted to write about it, and I wanted to push
Give
that
language,
conversation.
give
some
language to
language to
people.
it. And so here's fundamental number one for me when I think about what it means to win at home, to have and I think winning does begin at home. And our parable in the book is a baseball parable, and so there's a home plate in baseball, and so the baseball, every pitch starts at home, kind of mindset. So that's where we got this idea. So we talked about the last couple of days, the prerequisites that have to be in place, but let's get to the fundamentals here. So the first one, it's almost like your hard habits that you referenced yesterday with think others first. Well, I would say in a family, it's love first. I think it starts with loving first and having this mindset to above all else, love is kind of the deal. Like it starts with, and we kind of know that, right? If you have a wedding, there's usually two people that love each other. They're going to spend their life together. That's great. But I think sometimes we don't really understand what it means to love first in a family life. And we're going to give some examples here today, but that's fundamental number one when it comes to building a home, if you ask me.
I want to learn more.
That's good. Okay. So I want us to shift the way we think about love. And it's not only a noun. Love is also a verb. And we think about love, we fall in love, and we're, that's the noun part. But I think love really has to be demonstrated for it to be love. It's love is a verb. It's something you do. It's not just something you feel. It's the reason you feel the way you do is because you do some things. And so
Randy, that makes sense, like in my head. But what happens if I don't feel that way? I mean,
or if I don't want to.
Or I don't want to. I mean, how do you make love a verb?
Yeah. To me, I think let's go back to our little. It starts with in the heart. I mean, but if there's a shift that goes on internally that actually leads to action to me. And so I would say it starts with something like giving somebody the benefit of the doubt. Now that am I going to do something with that? I am in just a second, but I got to start
with the heart.
Yeah, because what happens on the beginning is, let's say you do something, and I'm like, well, I don't think I start this narrative of she's trying to do this or she's trying to do that, or if you have sons, they're trying to do that, or your husband, whatever. You got somebody that you're having a conversation with, and you're all of a sudden assuming that there's something negative going on, that they're trying to get what they want, and maybe they are. I mean, maybe they really are. But if I'm coming to that without a heart that really wants to be connected to somebody, I mean, it's so easy to. And we'll get into some communication next week, but it's so easy to not give a person the benefit of the doubt. It's the way I think about it. If I do give them the benefit of the doubt, now I'm going to approach a conversation differently. And we're going to get into a whole day on communication next week, tone, all that kind of stuff. But so many times I'm making an assumption on the front side. Maybe my motive is not right, and I haven't even thought about it. I haven't had this internal shift. And now it's going to, my actions are going to reflect what's really going on. And so I think that's a dangerous thing. I think the other thing I would say is I want to make sure that I assume positive intent. It's so easy to approach somebody else, and maybe I have this negative mindset, or that they're negative, or something's going on. And I just think if we start every interaction with a positive intent, how do I see the good in others? Go back to even what you talked about with how do I add value to somebody else? I think that's what gets my mind in the right place, and I've got a shot there of getting it right. Do I see the good in others? If I had you take out a card and make a list of 4 or 5 adjectives of somebody in your family, and you just wrote down 4 or 5 things about them, how many of now that I'm saying this, it probably would be more positive, but how many of us would put 4 or 5 things and we'd look at that list and go, man, that's not positive. That's not positive. That I'm not necessarily looking for the good in others. And so I think there's things that we can do to begin to think through the way that we approach relationships rather than the way everybody else approaches. And here's the cool thing, and we'll talk about this in a couple of days as well, but when we get this right, we're going to be a lot more fun to be in a family with than if we're always approaching, and we're harsh and we're negative, and we're assuming negative intent with other people. I mean, there's just some things that we can do there. So that's where I would start. At that level, it's going to ultimately lead to some actions. I think if you're looking for an action, when I say love is a verb, I would say the first thing I would recommend is that people would express gratitude. I mean, I think that will help you shift the way you think about somebody else. If you're just thankful for what they do, rather than always negative for what they don't do, that becomes a powerful way to maybe move your heart in the right direction. Gratitude's huge.
That's great. So how about an action item for today is to find somebody in your family that you can express genuine gratitude and appreciation. And whether that's a text, a note, a card, a kind word, or whatever.
A heartfelt thank you.
Thank you. Try that today.
Yeah, and if you really want to go big, maybe a couple of people. If you
just start with one.
Start with one. That's right. We're going to make it a layup, not a 3-pointer. Just find one person. I love that. I think that's really great. So, yeah, we all got work to do here. I think again it goes back to the heart part, but ultimately it can't just be something we feel. I think love, when it's really demonstrated, that's when it becomes powerful. How did you say it a minute ago? The love
unexpressed
is not love.
Not love.
And so let's go express some love to the people that matter most to us. And if we'll do that, I think we'll be a lot more fun to be in the family with. All right, remember, the best leaders lead every day.